They say when you truly love someone, you don't hurt them. But what if you hurt them because you were already hurting yourself? What if the person you betrayed was the only one who ever loved you right? My name doesn't matter. Just know I'm 23, and I made the worst mistake of my life. And now I'm living in the aftermath, alone. I married the love of my life 3 months ago. We had been together since I was 16 and he was 18, high school sweethearts, the kind everyone rooted for. He was brilliant, top of his class. Turned down a better scholarship just to be with me. We even went to the same college so we wouldn't have to do long distance. I always knew he was the kind of man people write novels about. Loyal, selfless, stable. He worked while I studied. He let me drop out when he saw how much I hated school. He promised to carry the burden so I wouldn't have to suffer. And me? I was the girl he fought the world for. I cooked, I cleaned, I managed our home. We had a system, a quiet rhythm that for a while felt like real partnership. But sometimes even the most beautiful symphony goes out of tune. I'd be lying if I said I was still attracted to him the same way I used to be. He'd stopped working out after getting his job in tech. He stopped coming to the gym with me. The six-pack I used to adore? Gone. Even our intimacy started fading. The fire that once lit up every corner of our lives dimmed into tired shadows. I missed being wanted. Then came David, his friend, the charming one with perfect timing. David started coming around more often. At first I was annoyed. His friends always felt like an intrusion in our home. But David? He was different. He made me laugh. He noticed things. He asked me how my day was. He remembered the names of the shows I liked. He filled in the blanks my husband didn't even know were empty. The first time David showed up early, I didn't think much of it. I was still in my shirt and underwear, not expecting anyone for hours. But he laughed it off, called it undies time, and stripped down to his boxers as a joke. Somewhere between awkward laughter and soft touches, I stopped resisting. He reached out. I leaned in. And in one unforgivable moment, I kissed him back. I wish I could say that was the only mistake. But it wasn't. That kiss turned into weeks of stolen hours. Into months of betrayal. Into lies layered on top of lies. We never used protection. He said he hated it and I never said no. I felt wanted, desired, powerful. Things I hadn't felt in so long. And worst of all, I liked it. I started calling him hubby. When we were alone, he called me wifey. Like we had created a separate world where my real husband didn't exist. In that world I was happy. Until I wasn't. Because David stopped being the escape and started being the prison. He got possessive. Demanded I stop wearing my wedding ring. I did. And eventually I lost it. When my husband noticed, I lied. I always used to wear it. He noticed everything even when he was distant. But I blamed it on forgetfulness. Then David pushed further. He told me to stop sleeping with my husband, to stop kissing him, to treat him like a stranger in his own home. And I did. I called my husband names. I mocked him. I turned my back on the man who once stayed up all night with me during panic attacks. The man who gave up his dream school for me. The man who never once asked for anything in return. Eventually he noticed. Of course he did. The distance in bed. The harsh words. The empty eyes. He knew something was wrong. So when he confronted David, told him he wasn't welcome anymore, David snapped. Out of spite or possession, I don't know. But he sent my husband everything. The photos. The videos. The messages where I told David he was better than my husband. Where I said I loved him. And when my husband came home that night, he didn't just cry. He broke. He screamed. He threw things. He looked at me like he didn't even recognize who I was. He asked questions I couldn't answer. He held his phone like it was a weapon, scrolling through every disgusting detail. I had betrayed him in every way possible. In his home. In our bed. In his heart. He sat down in the corner and sobbed, begging to understand, asking if he was ever enough, wondering why I did it. And all I could do was cry too, because even I didn't fully know. Eventually, the neighbors called the police. The yelling. The chaos. They asked me if I had somewhere to go. And now I live at my mother's. Without my ring. Without my husband. Without the life I promised to protect. I still haven't let go of David entirely. I know I should. But I'm lost. Because the only man I ever truly loved won't even look at me. Some mornings I wake up and forget where I am. For a brief second, I reach out to the left side of the bed, expecting warmth, expecting him. But the space is cold, empty, just like everything else now. And then it rushes back. The screaming, the broken glass, the betrayal I caused. I blink into my mother's guest room ceiling and wonder, how did I become this woman? It wasn't supposed to go this far. David was just supposed to be a distraction, a placeholder, someone who saw me when I felt invisible. But the truth is, I let him become too much. I handed him the parts of me my husband never knew were up for negotiation. And when David asked for more, I didn't say no. He told me to stop kissing my husband, so I did. He told me I shouldn't touch him at all anymore, because cheating on David was now a possibility in his eyes. And I listened. I stopped initiating any kind of affection with the man I married. I distanced myself in bed, turned my back. Fake sleep. I was building walls while he was still trying to find the door. I used to think I was strong, but looking back now, I was so easily led. Led by attention, led by validation, led by someone who made me feel like I still mattered. David told me my husband was weak, told me he'd never make me happy, that he let himself go, that he stopped earning my love. And I believed it. Not because it was true, but because I needed a reason to justify what I was doing. Something, anything, to blame besides myself. When my husband asked where my ring had gone, I panicked. It had been missing for days. David didn't like it on my finger, said it was a lie. And stupid me, I took it off like it meant nothing. But when my husband noticed, he looked so hurt. He didn't yell, didn't even ask many questions. He just stared at my bare finger like it confirmed every quiet suspicion he'd been swallowing for months. I lied, of course, said I misplaced it while cleaning, said I was getting it resized. I don't even remember what lie I told, just that I said something. After that day, things spiraled. David grew more possessive. He wanted all of me. Every second. He started calling me wifey more often. He'd show up unannounced, stay longer, act like our marriage had already ended. And me? I let him. Because somewhere in my sick, crumbling logic, it felt easier than facing what I had done. My husband was still trying, still asking if I wanted to go on dates, still bringing home takeout, still trying to hold my hand in public. But I pulled away, like it hurt, and I saw him shrink. Little by little, his confidence began to crack. His posture slouched more. His voice got quieter. He'd look at me with eyes that once sparkled and now just searched for answers I refused to give. And then came the breaking point, when he told David not to come around anymore. That's when everything detonated. I wasn't there when it happened, but when my husband got home, his phone was already full. Dozens of pictures, videos, screenshots, messages. Every intimate moment between me and David, exposed. I came home to rage I didn't recognize. My husband had always been composed, controlled, patient. But that night he was trembling. His voice cracked between fury and heartbreak. He smashed a lamp, threw my makeup bag across the room, punched the wall so hard his knuckles bled. He screamed questions at me. How long? How many times? Why him? I couldn't answer fast enough. I broke down. I sobbed on the floor like a child who'd been caught stealing. Because that's exactly what I'd done. I stole his security, his peace, his love. And I gave it away, cheaply, selfishly, to a man who never earned it. Then came the videos. He watched them right in front of me. Watched me call David hubby. Watched me laugh in his shirt. Watched me moan in the bed we used to make together. He stared at the screen like it was a horror movie starring his wife. And when it ended, he went quiet. Too quiet. He slid down the wall and covered his face. He wasn't crying. He was grieving. The kind of grieving people do at funerals. Only no one had died. Except the woman he thought he married. He started mumbling, calling himself a joke, a loser, saying things I had said to him in anger, words I never imagined he'd replay in his mind. He started scratching at his arms, slapping his own face. I rushed to him, but he shoved me away. Don't touch me. You don't love me. You never did. That broke me. More than anything. Because it wasn't true. The neighbors must have heard the yelling. Someone called the police. When they showed up, I was too frozen to speak. They saw the broken glass. Saw the blood on his knuckles. Saw the devastation in both our eyes. And they asked me gently, "Do you have somewhere else you can stay tonight?" Now I'm here. Back in my mother's house. Staring at blank walls. Trying to piece together the girl I used to be. Wondering how I went from being his everything to being this. And the worst part? David's still calling. Still texting. Still acting like I'm his wife now. But I don't want him. Not anymore. Not after what he did. Not after how easily he destroyed the only man who ever truly loved me. I just want to go back. But I know that door may be locked forever. People think the worst part of infidelity is getting caught. But it's not. The worst part is what happens after. The echo. The silence. The hollow version of yourself you have to face every morning in the mirror. No excuses left.
No distractions.
Just the truth. And the truth? It haunts you. My phone's been silent for weeks now. I used to keep it on Do Not Disturb just to feel some peace. Now I keep it loud, begging for a message that will never come. Every buzz makes my stomach flip. But it's never him. Never my husband. It's always David. Still calling me wifey, like he hasn't ruined everything I ever cared about. I hate that part of me still answers. Still responds to his voice because it's the only one talking to me. I know I should block him. I know he's toxic. But when you've burned every bridge behind you, even the wrong company feels better than the silence. After the night everything came crashing down, I tried calling my husband. 10 times. 20. 100. He didn't pick up once. I even left voicemails crying, begging, apologizing. Telling him I didn't know who I'd become. That I missed him. That I'd do anything to fix it. But nothing. I tried going through friends. They were silent too. Few even blocked me. I became a cautionary tale in our circle. The woman who destroyed the golden boy. The girl who ruined the fairy tale. Eventually I reached out to his sister. And she picked up. Only once. She sounded exhausted. Worn down in ways I couldn't even imagine. "He's not okay," she said. "He's not eating. He barely sleeps. He's lost so much weight. He won't go out in public anymore. He thinks everyone's laughing at him behind his back. You didn't just break his heart. You shattered his spirit." I sat there, phone to my ear, sobbing. Because somewhere deep down I'd hoped he was angry. That maybe he hated me. That maybe we'd scream at each other and somehow find our way through it. But this kind of silence? It's final. It's the sound of someone giving up on you completely. His sister said he asked her to help him start the divorce paperwork. That she was gathering everything. Building the case. Apparently, David sent him over 200 screenshots. Voice memos. Videos. I didn't even remember recording half of them. But there it was, evidence. The entire twisted affair preserved in high definition. "You gave him no choice," she said quietly. "You betrayed him in his own home. In your bed. With his friend. He's not trying to punish you. He's just trying to survive this." And then she said the words that made me freeze. "You don't need to worry about getting him back. You need to worry if he'll make it through the week." That night I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, replaying every cruel thing I'd ever said. Every time I called him fat. Every time I rolled my eyes when he tried to hold my hand. Every time I pushed him away and ran straight to David. And worst of all, every time he still tried. Still hoped. I used to complain he didn't look at me the way he used to. But now I realize. He was trying. Fighting for us in a war I had already surrendered. My mother doesn't ask questions. She doesn't need to. She hears me crying at night. She sees me barely eating. Barely existing. And she knows I did something awful. Still she's gentle. She makes me tea. Folds my laundry. Tells me to take it one day at a time. But I can't. Because every day without him feels like punishment. Every day I wake up and he's not there. That's the sentence. David still texts. Still thinks we're in it together. He sends me selfies. Stupid memes. Videos from when we were happy. And all I can think about is how easily he turned on me. The moment my husband told him to back off, he didn't just walk away. He nuked my marriage. He lit a match and burned down the only thing that ever really mattered. And now? He wants to act like none of that happened. I don't respond much. But when I do, it's cold. One-word answers. Occasional questions. Not because I want him, but because I want anything to distract me from the storm inside my own head. If I sign those divorce papers, it's over. Really over. But if I don't, what does that make me? A coward? A fool clinging to a ghost? His sister says he'll go through with it either way. That the evidence is stacked too high. That no judge would show me mercy. I don't have a job. I don't have savings. He paid for everything. Even now, I don't know how I'll survive if he leaves me with nothing. But even worse than the fear is the grief. Because what I lost wasn't just a husband. It was the man who saw me. The one who built a life with me from scratch. The one who held my hand through every bad dream, only for me to become the nightmare. And now, he sleeps alone, in a half-empty apartment, with nothing but shattered trust and silence where love used to live. And I did that. I've started counting time and regrets. Not minutes, not days, but the number of times I wish I could go back and undo just one moment. The moment I let David touch me. The moment I didn't pull away. The moment I laughed with him in the same bed my husband used to kiss me goodnight in. Each memory feels like a wound I reopen just to remind myself I deserve the pain. Strange what you miss. Not the big things. Not even the intimacy. But the little routines. The way he always brewed a second cup of coffee in case I changed my mind. The way he'd place my slippers near the bed without saying a word. The way he kissed the top of my head before heading to work. Even when I was cold and distant. He never stopped loving me. Even when I made it so hard to love me. The divorce papers came last week. They arrived in a plain manila envelope, tucked under my mother's mail. No note. No message. Just facts. Dates. Terms. Details that turned my love story into a spreadsheet. I held them for hours. Didn't open them. Didn't cry. Just stared. Because opening them meant admitting it was real. I haven't signed them yet. Not because I think he'll come back. But because once I do, there's no pretending left. No more what if. No more husband. I still sleep in his hoodie. The one he left on the back of a chair before everything imploded. It doesn't smell like him anymore. Just like me. Like tears and lavender detergent. But I can't let it go. Because it's the last thing I have that he touched. The last thread of us. David came over 2 days ago. I told him not to. He knocked on my mom's door like nothing had happened. Flowers in hand. Smile on his face. Like we hadn't just destroyed a man's life. You doing okay, wifey? He said like a joke. Like it meant nothing. I almost slammed the door. But instead I let him in. I don't know why. Maybe habit. Maybe guilt. Maybe loneliness. He tried to kiss me. I pulled away. We're done, I told him. I don't want this anymore. He looked confused like he was the victim now. Like I owed him something. I told him he needed to leave. And this time I meant it. He got angry. Started raising his voice saying I used him. That I was just another bored housewife who needed attention. That I ruined his life too. But I didn't care. Not anymore. Because the only life I ever wanted back was already gone. I shut the door in his face. Locked it. Collapsed behind it. And cried until I couldn't breathe. It was the first time I felt anything close to clarity. I opened the divorce envelope that night. Read every word. Every clause. Every line that reminded me how transactional love becomes when it ends. He wasn't cruel about it. He didn't demand anything unreasonable. But it was clear. He wanted out. For good. The guilt doesn't just come in waves anymore. It lives in me. It whispers when I wake up. It shouts when I try to sleep. It sits beside me at every meal I can't finish. Holds my hand when I try to focus on anything else. My mother tries not to pry. She brings tea. Leaves the door open when she goes out. She says, "You'll get through this, Mija." But I don't want to get through it. I want to rewind it. Erase it. Rewrite the entire year. My therapist says I need to stop living in the past. That shame keeps me tethered to the moment of my worst mistake. That I have to forgive myself to ever move forward. But how do you forgive someone who killed the person you used to be? I keep replaying our wedding day. How his hand shook sliding the ring onto my finger. How he whispered, "We made it." Like we'd climbed a mountain together. And we had. We'd survived school, debt, late nights, fights, growing pains. We built something real. Only for me to tear it all down because I was insecure, bored, selfish. I thought attention meant love. That desire meant I mattered. That someone wanting me meant I was whole. But now I see. I was looking for validation in the arms of a man who only ever wanted what wasn't his. And I gave it freely. Like my marriage was disposable. I still text my husband sometimes. He never replies. I don't expect him to. I just send short things. "I'm sorry. I miss you. I hope you're okay." I don't even know if he reads them. Maybe he blocked me. Maybe he deletes them on sight. But it makes me feel like I haven't completely vanished from his world. Last night I had a dream. We were in our old kitchen. He was cooking. I was sitting on the counter swinging my legs. And he looked at me like he used to. Like I was his world. And then I woke up. To silence. To reality. To the hollow ache of never again. I'm signing the papers tomorrow. Not because I want to, but because he deserves peace. And maybe I do too. This isn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it's the first step toward facing the wreckage I caused. And finally letting go of the man I destroyed. The pen hovered in my hand longer than it should have. I'd read the divorce papers 5 times already. Every word was seared into my brain like a scar. But putting ink on that line, it meant surrendering the last shred of hope I had. It meant telling the universe, I give up. I lost him. And still, I signed. My hand trembled. My stomach twisted. But I signed. For him. For me. For closure. He deserved freedom from the weight of my betrayal. And maybe I did too, from the illusion that I could fix something I'd already destroyed. When I placed the envelope back on the counter, I stared at it. As if it could speak. As if it could undo what it represented. But silence greeted me. Just like it has every morning since he left. My mother came in later, her eyes soft. She saw the sealed envelope and didn't say a word. Just reached over. And gently squeezed my hand. That was the first time I cried in front of her. And for once I didn't cry because I was sorry. I cried because it was over. Grief is a strange companion. It doesn't scream like guilt. It whispers. It shows up when the house is too quiet. When your reflection feels like a stranger. When you hear a song and suddenly can't breathe. Some days I find myself back in old memories. Late night drives with him. Grocery store aisles filled with dumb inside jokes. The quiet way he used to reach for me when he thought I was asleep. I was his safe place. And then I became the fire that burned him. I've stopped talking to David. He still sends texts. Still tries to joke. Still uses that stupid wifey nickname like he didn't ruin the only life I ever loved. But now I don't even flinch when I delete his messages. He was the temptation. The easy escape. The chaos I invited in when I felt neglected and bored. But he wasn't love. He was a reflection of the worst in me. I'm learning now that true love isn't about being wanted. It's about being chosen. Over and over again, especially when it's not convenient. And my husband, he chose me every day. Even when I made it hard. Even when I gave him every reason not to. I see that now. Too late. But I see it. Sometimes I wonder if he thinks about me. Not with longing, God, I don't expect that. But maybe with sadness. With questions. With moments where he tries to understand how the person he trusted most became a stranger. Does he still wear the watch I got him? Does he flinch when he hears my name? Or worse? Has he erased me completely? I called his sister one last time. She didn't pick up. But I left a message. Just one. I signed. I won't fight him. Please, just make sure he knows I never stopped loving him. Even when I failed him. I didn't say more. Didn't beg. Didn't ask for anything in return. I just needed him to know. Because the truth is, I do love him. In the deepest, most painful, unfixable way. They say people don't know what they have until it's gone. But that's not true. I knew. I knew what I had. I just didn't think I'd ever lose it. I thought he'd stay no matter what. Because that's what he always did. I took his loyalty and turned it into a leash. And when he finally broke free, I realized I had caged the only real love I'd ever known. Therapy is slow. Some days I want to quit, to curl up in bed and forget the world. But I keep going. Not because I believe in healing yet, but because he would have wanted me to try. He always believed in better, in fixing what's broken, in building something from the ruins. And if I can't rebuild us, maybe I can at least rebuild me. It's weird. The things that remind me of him. Not the wedding photos, I had to put those away. But the way I still pour 2 cups of coffee out of habit. The fact that I still check for his hoodie before laundry. The way I hear his laugh in my head when a dumb joke comes on. He's everywhere, but nowhere. And maybe that's what grief really is. Not just loss, but the constant presence of absence. I don't know what the future looks like. I don't even know what tomorrow looks like. But I do know this. I will never again let my loneliness drive me into betrayal. I will never again confuse attention with love. And I will never again let a man like him slip through my fingers. Even if he never forgives me, even if he finds someone else, even if he forgets me completely, he will always be the one who taught me what love really means. And I will carry that lesson with me until the day I take my last breath. This isn't the ending I wanted, but maybe it's the one I needed. To grow, to atone, to finally begin again. I mailed the signed papers today, walked 3 blocks to the post office with shaking hands, clutching that envelope like it weighed more than the past year. I stood in line quietly, while a man behind me hummed a familiar song. A song we used to play during weekend cleanups, him dancing with the broom like a fool while I laughed. The memory hit me like a punch to the chest. I almost walked out, but I didn't. I took a deep breath, stepped forward, and placed the envelope on the counter. Certified, please. It's official now. I've released him. I thought I'd feel numb, but grief has a way of sneaking in sideways. I cried the entire way home. Not loud sobs. Not dramatic. Just silent tears sliding down my face as I passed by couples, old men sweeping their porches, kids riding bikes. The world moved on, while I stood still, watching everything I could have had slip through my fingers. My mother had dinner ready when I walked in. She didn't ask questions. She just served me a bowl of soup, sat across the table and held my hand. That's what unconditional love looks like, isn't it? Not flowers, not passion, just presence. The kind that stays even when you're broken. I finally told her everything. Not in detail. Not with all the mess and the shame. Just enough. Enough to explain why I haven't been able to look her in the eye these last few months. Why I've stopped singing in the shower. Why the light in me went out. She listened. Didn't judge. Didn't interrupt. She just pulled me close and whispered, "You're not the first to make a terrible mistake. But you have to choose now. Are you going to be someone who stays broken? Or someone who rebuilds?" I didn't answer. But that night, for the first time in months, I slept without crying. It's been a few weeks now. The papers should be back soon. Finalized. Stamped. Done. A part of me still hopes, stupidly, selfishly, that he'll call. That he'll say he read my texts. That he hasn't deleted the voicemail. That somewhere deep down, the love we shared still flickers. But I know better. Hope can be a beautiful thing, but it can also be a trap. I started a part-time job. Nothing glamorous, just a cashier at a local bookstore. But it's something. Gets me out of bed. Puts money in my pocket. Gives me a reason to shower and brush my hair. And in a way it feels poetic. Surrounded by stories all day. Lives more tragic than mine. Lives more beautiful than mine. And sometimes customers will ask for recommendations on forgiveness, on healing, on redemption. And I'll point to books I haven't even read, just titles that feel right. Because maybe if I fake it long enough, I'll start to believe it. David showed up once. Outside the store. I didn't speak to him. I just walked past. Didn't acknowledge him. Didn't flinch. And in that moment I felt powerful. Because for once, I wasn't the woman ruled by her guilt. I wasn't the woman desperate to be desired. I was someone who knew better. Someone who finally learned. Healing isn't pretty. It's not a glow-up or a montage. It's messy. It's sitting in silence. Forcing yourself to keep going. Choosing not to spiral even when it would feel easier. It's learning to live with the fact that you were the villain in someone else's story. And still waking up and choosing to be better. Sometimes I write letters to him. Letters I never send. They're tucked away in a shoebox beneath my bed. Pages filled with everything I wish I had said before it was too late. I miss the way you'd pull me close when I was cold. I'm sorry I ever made you doubt your worth. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I broke you. Sometimes I wonder if he's dating someone new. If there's a girl who makes him smile again. If she gets to hear the soft, sleepy voice he used to save just for me. It hurts. But it's okay. Because if anyone deserves love again, it's him. Even if it isn't me. I had a dream last night. We were old. Sitting on a porch somewhere, gray-haired and quiet. He looked at me, and his eyes weren't angry anymore. They were kind. Forgiving. We didn't speak. But somehow I knew we were okay. Maybe that's all I can hope for now. Not a reunion. Not a second chance. Just peace. For him. For me. I still wear the necklace he gave me. Not as a sign of hope, but as a reminder. Of love. Of loss. Of what it means to never take something for granted again. People say time heals everything. But I don't think time heals. I think choice does. Choosing to stop apologizing with words, and start apologizing with actions. Choosing to show up for yourself, even when you feel worthless. Choosing to stop chasing the past, and start honoring it by being better. I'm not healed, but I'm healing. Slowly, deliberately, one choice at a time. I spent hours last night staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence of a home that no longer feels like mine. A home that used to echo with laughter, with love. But now? Now it's just empty space. Empty rooms that remind me of everything I've lost. I tried to call him again today. For the 100th time it seems. My fingers hover over the screen but I don't press send. Because deep down I know he's not picking up. And he shouldn't. He shouldn't have to. I've asked for forgiveness so many times that the word itself has become hollow. What do I even expect anymore? For him to tell me he's waiting for me to fix it? To forgive me and take me back like nothing ever happened? It's selfish. I know it is. But God, the pain of it all is so much harder to carry than I ever imagined. I'm still at my mom's house. Not because I want to be, but because I don't know where else to go. I don't want to be here. But it's the only place left where I don't have to pretend. The therapy sessions are helping somewhat. I've learned things I wish I hadn't known about myself. How easily I convinced myself I was justified. How quickly I ran to another man when I didn't want to face my own dissatisfaction. The most painful truth? I wasn't looking for love. I was looking for an escape. David was never the solution. Not to my problems. Not to my emptiness. But he was an answer. A temporary fix. And the worst part? I don't even know if I regret it anymore. Some nights I still cry about the man I destroyed. The man who gave me everything. I destroyed his trust. I destroyed his spirit. And I'll never be able to apologize enough to make up for it. I have nothing left to offer him but my guilt. I see him in my dreams. Not as the man who screamed at me that night. Not the broken, shattered version of him. But the man I married. The man who held me when I was scared. The man who would have protected me from the world. I see him smiling. And it's the first time in months I can feel the love we once shared. I'm not even sure if he'd want to see me now. He's not just angry. He's hurt. I don't think I can fix that. I don't even know if I should. I read through his sister's messages again today. She's worried about him. But she also thinks I'm a lost cause. She told me once that I couldn't expect him to just get over it. And she's right. I can't expect him to forgive me. To just go back to the way things were. He's been broken by me. And there's nothing I can do to unbreak him. I tried to think about moving forward today. Tried to imagine a future without him. But I couldn't. Because I don't even know who I am anymore. The woman who betrayed him destroyed our marriage. Is she even me anymore? There are days I can almost convince myself that I'll find a way back to him. That I'll fix it. But those days are fading. The truth is, I'm afraid to ever face him again. Not because of his anger. Not because of his pain, but because of what I did to him. I know I'll never be able to give him back the trust we lost. I'll never be able to unsee the damage I've caused. I had a conversation with my mother today. She's been soft with me, gently guiding me through this dark place. But today she asked me if I thought about whether I could live without him. And it hit me like a truck. I've never had to live without him. He's been my constant. My home. And now I have to figure out how to exist in a world where he doesn't want me anymore. I still dream about him. About the way his eyes used to light up when he smiled. The warmth of his voice when he called me his perfect girl. But those dreams only last until I wake up. And then I'm faced with reality again. A reality I created. I think about the future. About whether I'll ever love again. But how do you love when you've broken the only person who ever truly loved you? How do I trust myself to never hurt someone like that again? I'm not ready for the divorce. But I know it's coming. And I know it's necessary. I can't keep holding on to something that's already slipped through my fingers. But the thought of him walking away for good, it feels like an endless ache that won't ever stop. I'll sign the papers when the time comes. But not because I want him to forget me. Not because I want to move on. But because I owe it to him to let him go. Maybe this is the consequence I deserve. Maybe this is the punishment for betraying someone who never deserved it. There's a particular silence that follows betrayal. It doesn't come right away, not during the shouting or the crying or the rage. Comes after. When the dust settles. When the home is empty. When everyone who used to care about you simply stops. That's the silence I live in now. Yesterday I saw one of his old college friends at the grocery store. Someone I used to hug every time we met. Someone who once joked he wanted a marriage like ours. He looked right at me and kept walking.
No smile. No wave.
Nothing. Like I didn't exist. I stood there holding a box of cereal, blinking back tears in aisle 5. I wanted to run after him. To say something, anything. But what could I possibly say? Please hate me less? Please remember that I used to be a good person? Even I don't believe that anymore. It's strange, isn't it? How quickly people go from loving you to resenting you. But when you break something sacred, maybe that's exactly what you deserve. I've started writing in a journal. My therapist says it helps with clarity. So every night I bleed onto the page. I write about my guilt, about my shame, about the man who used to be my husband, and who I turned into a stranger. Sometimes I wonder if I should just send the pages to him. Let him see how wrecked I really am. But then I remember. He doesn't owe me his forgiveness. Not even if I'm sorry every second of every day. David tried to see me again. This time I answered the door. I don't know why. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted to scream at him. Maybe I just wanted someone to see the mess I've become. He stood there like nothing had happened. Same cocky smile. Same arms folded. Same stupid confidence. Missed you, wifey, he said. And something in me snapped. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just looked him straight in the eye and said, "You ruined my life." He laughed like it was a joke. "You didn't seem to mind when you were in my bed." I slapped him. Hard. The sound echoed in the hallway, and he just stared at me.
No anger. No apology.
Just surprise. I think for once he realized I wasn't that girl anymore. The girl who needed his attention. The girl who let him fill the void. I was done. I slammed the door in his face, locked it, and collapsed on the floor. And for the first time since it all came crashing down, I felt free. Later that night, I wrote another letter I'll never send. I don't love him anymore. I don't even think I ever did. I just needed someone. And you were gone. I'm sorry I let loneliness become betrayal. I'm sorry I didn't wait for you to come home. The divorce papers arrived today. Finalized. Stamped. Cold. I stared at them for hours. Not crying. Not shaking. Just staring. This is it. The last tie cut. We are no longer husband and wife. I packed away the photos next. All of them. Even the ones where we looked happiest. The honeymoon. Our first apartment. That night we danced barefoot in the kitchen after too much wine. They're in a box under my bed now. Too painful to display. Too precious to destroy. People keep telling me it'll get better. That one day I'll move on. But I don't want to move on. Not yet. Because that feels like forgetting him. Forgetting us. And I'm not ready for that. I started volunteering at a local shelter. It was my therapist's suggestion. Give your time to someone who needs it, she said. So now I spend my weekends washing dishes, folding donated clothes, handing out meals. And oddly enough, it helps. Not because it fixes anything, but because it reminds me there are still things I can do right. There's a girl there named Marissa. Young. quiet, eyes too tired for her age. One day I asked her if she was okay. She looked up at me and whispered, "I just wish someone would love me enough to stay." And I broke. Right there in the back room holding a bag of rice. Because that's all I ever wanted too. Someone to stay. And someone did. He stayed through college. Through jobs. Through every insecurity I carried. He stayed. Until I gave him a reason to leave. I think the hardest part of all of this isn't losing him. It's realizing I never deserved him in the first place. If he ever reads this, if somehow someday he stumbles across these words, I just want him to know. I would have taken all the loneliness, all the quiet, all the little heartbreaks, if it meant still falling asleep next to him. I'm not a good person. Not anymore. But I'm trying to be. One day at a time. One kind gesture at a time. One breath at a time. Sometimes I still wear the ring. Not as a symbol of hope, but as a promise to myself. To never betray love again. To never trade loyalty for lust. To never confuse comfort with commitment. I don't know if he'll ever be okay, but I pray that he will. That someday someone will love him the way I should have. Fully. Faithfully. Without fear. And maybe, just maybe, I'll learn to love myself enough to forgive the girl I was. Even if the world never does. Some mornings I wake up and forget for a moment. Forget the papers are signed. Forget he's gone. Forget what I did. And then the silence hits. No footsteps in the hallway.
No tot brus beside mine.
No voice asking if I want coffee. Just emptiness. I never realized how loud his love was until it disappeared. It was in the way he folded the laundry. In the late-night pharmacy runs when I had cramps. In the way he filled the gas tank so I never had to. It was everywhere. And I didn't see it until it was gone. I visited his favorite park today. The one where he used to take his sketchbook. He never let me see what he drew. Said some things were just for him. I sat on our usual bench. The one near the fountain under the old maple tree. And for a second I imagined him beside me. Legs crossed, pencil in hand, eyes full of gentle concentration. I didn't cry. Not this time. I just closed my eyes and said thank you. For loving me. For trying. For staying as long as he did. I don't go by wife anymore. That title is gone. Now I'm just me. Whatever that means. My mother asked me last week if I ever thought about dating again. I laughed. Not because the idea is ridiculous, but because it feels impossible. How do you open your heart again when the last time you did, you crushed someone else's? How do you trust your own decisions, your own feelings after causing so much damage? I'm not ready. Maybe I never will be. There's a man who comes into the bookstore sometimes. Older. Kind eyes. He always lingers in the poetry section. The other day he asked me if I had a favorite. Without thinking, I handed him a copy of The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. He smiled. Ah. Regret and longing. A classic. We didn't say much else. But something about that small exchange made me feel human again. Like maybe I still had something to offer the world. Even if it isn't love. I've stopped blaming David. It's too easy. Too convenient. He wasn't innocent, no. But I was the one who let him in. The one who betrayed my vows. I can't heal if I keep pretending this was anyone else's fault. I've been thinking about vows a lot lately. The ones I broke. The ones I never said out loud. The silent promises we make every day without realizing. To be honest. To be present. To choose the person we love even when they're not perfect. Especially when they're not perfect. I broke every one. I found one of his sweaters last week. Tucked in a box I hadn't opened yet. It still smelled like him. I curled up with it on the floor and just breathed him in until I fell asleep. When I woke up, I folded it neatly and packed it away again. Some things aren't meant to be held on to forever. Even if they once felt like home. His sister texted me again. She said he's been going to therapy. That he's eating more. Sleeping a little. Progress. She also said she doesn't forgive me. And that's okay. I'm not looking for her forgiveness anymore. Only his. And maybe eventually my own. There's a little girl at the shelter who reminds me of myself. Quiet. Observant. Carrying sadness too big for her small shoulders. I gave her one of my old notebooks. Told her she could write whatever she wanted. She gave me a shy smile and whispered, "Will it make me feel better?" I nodded. Eventually, I filled 5 journals in 3 months. Each page a confession, prayer, a wound. They don't fix anything, but they stop me from spiraling. And maybe one day I'll burn them, release all of this into smoke. Or maybe I'll keep them. Proof that I survived my own destruction. I don't know if he still thinks about me. I don't know if he still hates me. But I hope wherever he is, he's healing too. I hope he finds someone who never makes him question his worth. Who kisses him goodnight even when they're angry. Who holds his hand in silence. Who never walks away from the kind of love people spend their lives searching for. I used to think redemption was a grand gesture. An apology that fixed everything. But now I know. Redemption is quiet. It's making your bed every morning. Showing up when no one is watching. Choosing every day to be better than the day before. Even when no one's keeping score. Some nights I imagine running into him again. Maybe in a bookstore. Maybe at a cafe. Maybe in a city neither of us calls home. We'll lock eyes. And for a moment the world will go still. And maybe, just maybe, he'll smile. Not because he still loves me, but because he's okay. Because we both are. I'm not there yet. But I'm trying. And maybe that's enough. For now. It's been almost a year now. 12 months since everything unraveled. 12 months since the truth spilled out and shattered the life I thought I was building. It still feels like it happened yesterday. And yet somehow it also feels like it happened to someone else. The woman I used to be? She's gone. Not because she was erased, but because she was forced to confront herself. Piece by painful piece. She was reckless, selfish, blind to what she had. She hurt people who didn't deserve it. She confused validation with love. And worst of all, she abandoned the man who never stopped choosing her. I look in the mirror now and I don't see that woman anymore. But I don't see someone whole either. I see someone rebuilding. One cracked brick at a time. I moved out of my mother's house last month. Got a tiny one-bedroom place with second-hand furniture and too much quiet. It's not much, but it's mine. And for the first time in months, I can sit in a space without feeling like I'm haunting it. I still think about him. Every day. Not in the desperate, aching way I used to. Not with the hope that he'll call or that I'll get another chance. Now it's gentler. A quiet ache that sits at the back of my chest. He was my great love. And I broke it. That will always be part of my story. But it's not the whole story anymore. I saw him a few weeks ago. By accident. I was walking through the park with a coffee, lost in thought, and there he was. Sitting on our old bench. Alone. Sketching. My heart stopped. I wanted to run. I wanted to hide. I wanted to apologize all over again. But I didn't move. I just watched from across the path. He looked calm. Not happy necessarily. But peaceful. Healthier. Like he'd been sleeping. Like someone had been reminding him to take care of himself. And then, as if he felt my eyes, he looked up. Our eyes met. 1 second. 2. And then he smiled. Just a little. Not the smile he used to give me. But not the cold one I feared. A simple human smile. Like two people passing through the same memory. Then he nodded and went back to his sketching. And I walked away with tears in my eyes. I didn't cry because I was sad. I cried because he was okay. Because I didn't ruin him completely. Because maybe, just maybe, he found a reason to heal. And I wasn't that reason. But that's okay. I mailed the journals last week. Not to him. To myself. I sealed them in a box and dropped them off at a storage center across town. They're a part of me. But I don't need to read them anymore. I don't need to relive the pain to remember who I am. Forgiveness isn't a destination. It's a process. And I'm still on that road. Some days I take a step forward. Others I trip and fall flat on my face. But I always get back up. 'Cause now, I believe I'm still worth something. Even after everything. I've started painting again. Badly. Messily. With colors that don't belong together. But it's mine. I hang them up in my tiny apartment and pretend they're masterpieces. Because healing doesn't look like a straight line. Sometimes it looks like a canvas smeared with pain and possibility. There's a man in my therapy group. Quiet. Reserved. He always speaks last. But last week he said something that stuck with me. We're all just trying to be forgiven by people who may never give it to us. So we have to learn how to give it to ourselves. I haven't stopped thinking about it. Because that's the hardest part, isn't it? Living with what you've done, knowing you may never make it right, and still choosing to live. My ex-husband will always carry scars because of me, and I will always carry the guilt. But he's rebuilding his life, and I'm rebuilding mine. That has to be enough. I don't dream of going back anymore. I don't plan imaginary reunions. I just hope that someday he loves someone who never makes him feel small. Hope that he sees his own worth again. Hope that when he looks in the mirror he sees more than what I broke. And for myself, I hope for peace. Not erasure. Not forgetting. Just peace. If I ever fall in love again, it will be as a woman who knows better. Who loves deeper. Who never takes loyalty for granted. And if I never fall in love again, then I will still be okay. 'Cause now, I can look myself in the eye and not flinch. This isn't the ending I wanted, but maybe it's the one I needed. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.